redistricting meeting on Monday, October 25th at 6 p.m. It's actually a little past that right now at 6:02. So, proof of notification, please.
Yes, the agenda was published last week in the courthouse and on the website.
All right, very good. And do we have a quorum? We should check that, please.
Lopez,
Yeah, I'm here.
Frank,
Here.
Cosgrove, Joyce, Kaplan, Ari, Lenz, Thompson,
Here.
Poole.
You have a quorum.
Yeah, have a quorum. All right, thank you very much. All right. So going on to item number 3, approving the agenda. We have a relatively short agenda, 7 points. I'm looking for someone to make a motion to approve the 7-point agenda.
I will move
I'll second.
to approve.
All right, let's give the Zoom people, let's give the WebEx people, let's give it to Dorothy and and Sean on this one, okay? Thank you very much. All right, all in favor of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against it? Say aye. All right. Minutes from the last meeting. Looking for someone to review, make sure we have reviewed the minutes of the last meeting, and looking for a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
So moved.
And second over here. All right, we're gonna take this one. We're taking in-house. The last one we took on WebEx, so this one was in-house. All right. Make it fair, right? All right, all in favor, please say aye. Anyone against, same sign. All right, moving on to item number 5, discussion and possible action on the final plan. Derek.
All right, so I'll start to share my screen here so I can pull it up, but you should have all received a document that I created to kind of make what we're going to call the final plan. So for those of you looking on the web, it will look like. Okay, so this is also on the website as well. I didn't print off paper copies, but all of you that are here tonight can see this, and those of you online can see it on the county's website. So this is the proposed final plan for the 2021 redistricting. Just basic information on who the committee was. And then this document was just made for reference. So these maps can be reproduced upon, request, but all I simply did was take everything we've looked at thus far and combine it into one document. So you'll recall this is, again, we can make maps that are much more legible and easier to read, but I just did this for display. This is the plan, the tentative plan that we approved, right? Here are the final statistics for the supervisory district. So again, as a committee, you have all looked at this. You've approved these changes as we went along. This is simply a compilation of all the work that you've done thus far. So there's the stats. And then when we approved the tentative plan that approved the districts, then we went into the ward descriptions. So these are all the ward descriptions for the townships, villages, and cities. So this is what we looked at the last meeting. Lynn and I reviewed exactly how we do this. So I've just combined this into one document. So I'm scrolling through this fast, but again, this is available for review at any point in time. It simply takes all the township boundaries and village boundaries and puts them in one place. And then I also added the city's boundaries too. So for example, city Ward 1, there's their population, they're in supervisory district 10. And then the city put together their, descriptions of their wards. So I did this all the way through, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to let me know, but no information on here is different than what we've already presented. So again, there is no formal template for this, but I felt like we needed to have something that resembles a plan instead of just saying we're approving a plan with some statistics. So this is just something I created as an official, document. Lynn, do you have anything else to add to that?
I think you covered it pretty good.
And this is then what I have shared with county board for approval. So I was hoping tonight that you all would approve this as our final plan to present to county board tomorrow for them to approve as a final plan. I should update you on where I'm at with receiving resolutions from those we need them from. So you'll recall at the last meeting or a few meetings ago now, I did send the resolutions to the township, so I don't think Attorney Wendell is on. I don't see that he's on, but depending on the township's makeup, whether or township, village, or city, depending on how many wards they have in the population, some of them we needed formal resolutions or ordinances from saying, you know, they approved the plan. Some of them we didn't. Just because the nature of this redistricting was a little different, and the fact that we were under some pretty severe time crunches, I did reach out to all municipalities requesting, or kindly asking, I should say, that they return a document to us saying, yes, we approve the plan that we put before them. So I'm happy to report that as of the weekend, all municipalities that are required to submit the resolution have turned them into me. I'm waiting on one more, but the resolution has been approved. And the clerk did just call me about 20 minutes ago saying they'll have it in my inbox tomorrow. Again, I really want to see that resolution, because until I have a piece of paper in my hand saying it's approved, I will really count it as approved. But I think tomorrow we will be able to head into the county board meeting with all resolutions required to pass the final plan for redistricting. So I want to thank all those townships, villages, and cities that are listening or present tonight for your hard work in getting this back to me. We did try to streamline it as much as we could, because we were all under the same time crunch as everyone. So I am very thankful that we were able to get all these back. So I do have these here for review if anyone would like to see them. And this was a bit of an extra step because, again, it was not required for all of us to do, but in the name of transparency and accountability, I wanted to make sure we had something from each municipality that, you know, signed off on the work that we did together and for them as well. So don't have anything else to add to that, but you have anything, Lynn? Doesn't have anything either.
Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Can I just ask that the ones who did return the resolutions, can those just be read off which ones those were?
Right. So I'll just go through the list of all of them because I have it right here. Aiken Township, they only have one ward, so it wasn't necessarily, it was not required for them to pass an ordinance, and they are not going to be passing one. The same with the town of Bloom. They have one ward, and so they were not required to pass one, and they're not going to pass one. I did speak with both of those clerks and was told that they will not be doing resolutions for that. When I was confronted with that response from clerks, confronted sounds maybe like a bad word. I didn't mean it like that, but when the clerks told me that, I then still requested that they send me an email just saying, yeah, you know, we're not going to pass a resolution again. So there's some accountability there, and so there's transparency in how this process went. So 2 years, you know, down the road, if there's a different clerk or something, there's no question as to why there wasn't a resolution or why the county didn't have something when we proceeded to approve the final plan tomorrow. Buena Vista, Dayton, Eagle, Forest, Henrietta, Ithaca, Marshall, and Orion have all turned one in to me. Richland is turning theirs in tomorrow. It was approved at their meeting they had on Friday night. It just didn't make its way to me. I think it's actually stuck in my Barracuda filter. But I did talk to Linda, and she'll get it to me right away tomorrow. Richwood, Rockbridge, Sylvan, Westford, Willow, Boaz, they've all turned one in. Cazenovia is the same as Aiken and Bloom. They have one ward, and they will not be passing a resolution. Again, it's my understanding they don't have to. Attorney Wendell, if you're on, you can confirm that. I believe we've talked about that. Lone Rock, Viola, Yuba, and the City of Richland Center have all turned something into me, a past resolution.
Thanks for those, and thanks to both you and Len for all your hard work on this overall too.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Don.
would you sign me in, please? I had difficulty connecting, and Mr. Brewer had difficulty connecting. I don't know whether he's been able to get a hold of you or not.
I have not heard from Chair Brewer. Chair Brewer, are you on? So I am not hearing from him at this point.
I'm sorry that I missed your opening remarks. I just came on now.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I have a question, Derek. The townships that did not want to pass that resolution, you merely created that for us clerks, and they just wouldn't go through the process with their board to pass that?
You know, I'm not sure. I think each one of them may be a little different. Again, they didn't have to do that.
Right.
So I think some of them may have just thought it was something, you know, seen it as something they didn't have to do, and they don't have to. So,
Right.
the exercise for me was just, like I said, for accountability and transparency in the whole process. So there was no questions later.
Sure.
But,
Basically the same as Eagle Township. We had no changes either, but
Correct.
you did the work for us. It was just a matter of listing that as an agenda item and having that approved. But, okay, so some.
that was the
they just
process.
didn't have to, okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, hold 1 second, Don. Susie, you had a question?
I was just going to make a comment that when I had talked to our attorney about it, she made it clear we didn't need one. And I didn't mind doing one, but some, you know, so maybe part of it is a clerk who's just going to follow the process. So the next clerk understands what the process is. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, I certainly don't hold anything against anyone that didn't do one. I was just taking direction from, well, the various people that I talked to, but you're right, Susie, they didn't have to do anything. There was no, you didn't have to, so.
But I was really impressed how everything was, it was pretty much spoon fed. I mean,
Yeah.
it was great. So thank you for doing that because it was a no-brainer and very easy to do.
Don, did you have a question?
yes, are we at the point where you're not allowing any changes or suggestions for changes to these maps?
We have been through both public hearings. We're at the point where we're making that final approval at this time. Do you have a question about the map?
Yes, I was quite surprised that the Henrietta and Willow district lines were changed so that the Willow district remains vacant. And I understand that there's a requirement that the address of the incumbents cannot be considered. I note, however, that the Willow incumbent has been his position has been vacated and ends up being a contestant against the other incumbent in Henrietta, and it occurs only because of a change in 4 residences. Double D has been inserted as opposed to utilizing County Highway D, which would change the number of people in the chair's district by 4 and keep the chair intact rather than putting the chair in the uncomfortable position of having to run against a fellow incumbent. But I think I understand that the rules are the rules, but I think that is a hardship.
Well, and I thank you for that comment. And we did set those rules as a committee. We set them very fast, and we directed both Lynn and Derek to guided by that. And this is how it turned out. As for how the election goes, we are thankful that the people have the choice to vote.
And that's the comment I'd like to make too is, I think that was rule number 4 on the rules that were set forth from the committee, either on the first or second meeting, that we were to not consider the address of incumbents. And we didn't look at that. Obviously, we didn't even think about that because, well, for one, we were told not to do that, and that's the right way to go about this as well. I mean, there's processes in place for a reason. Now, that being said, I was going to say before this was over that the result of this could mean that people's supervisory districts could change. However, we had a population decrease of 800 people. So changes in lines and things like that are inevitable. If you look at Buena Vista, their whole makeup is actually kind of switched too. So we really did the best we could with what census blocks we had to move around. You know, there's probably 50 million ways you could cut this pie, but given the time constraints we were under, I feel like we did the best we could with what we had to work with. So I appreciate your comments, Don, and it could be possible there may be a few more people that are moved around in districts and cause, incumbents to run against each other. Honestly, I don't know what those are because we didn't look at that because that wasn't something that we were to consider. So I was made aware of a case today, and there, that may be the only one. There may be a few more. I'm not trying to be dismissive at all, but that wasn't something we looked at. So
Yeah, we just run the hazard of losing an outstanding board member because of this.
Well, thank you for your comments. Derek, Lynn, anything else on item 5? Discussion and possible action on the final plan.
I have nothing else. I did prepare the draft ordinance for you all to view. I think I gave this at the last meeting, actually. The only addition that I had to it was the Lynn, Aaron, and I sat down and looked at the city wards last week, and so their final numbers were arrived at, which I added to that ordinance that I sent you all, but otherwise it hasn't changed any at all. So that's the only other change.
Okay.
This will go to county board tomorrow.
So this going to county board, is this a resolution that you're looking for approval of the final plan as a resolution? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I think we should approve the final plan as presented, which is the document that I have here on the screen, again, which is everything you've already approved just on one single piece of paper as a semi, official document. And then the ordinance, I wouldn't mind getting an approval from you guys, because at the bottom I have that the county board members of the redistricting committee are in favor of that. So I think we should get approval for both of those things just to make sure everything's clear. So when we're going into the county board tomorrow, we have that approval.
Would that be one resolution, or would that be two separate ones, one for the final plan and one for the ordinance?
I'd prefer two separate ones, one for each item, please.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Don?
does the county board have the authority to make changes to this plan?
The county board can choose not to accept the plan. That would require us to, bring this back to the committee and work on this and meet those time constraints that we're under. So of course the county board can say they don't approve it. This committee won't disband until this is formally approved. Again, I don't believe Attorney Window's on, but the county board can vote to not approve it, and we can come back and start the process all over again. I don't know if that's the best.
You say that they have only the alternative of not accepting. They can't make an amendment to the plan.
They either approve the plan or deny the plan as presented. And if it's not approved, then it would need to come back, and we would do exactly what we did.
So clearly you're saying there's no opportunity for amendment.
I can't say that. I'm saying that they can either choose to approve the plan as presented or not approve the plan. If they don't approve the plan, it would come back to the committee to then rehash and rework. If it's approved, then it's approved. And that's where we're at with the redistricting plan. And again, this whole process is what feeds the type A notice that has to be sent out by me. So this way, the county and the corresponding townships, municipal, villages, cities, and towns can do what they need to do for election stuff. So it's either you approve it or you don't.
Yeah, well, just please rest assured that I totally respect the work that you've done, and I am not offering any sort of criticism of it. I just have questions.
I understand. Thank you for your questions, Don.
Okay, so from the redistricting committee, then I am looking for a motion to move the final plan to the county board for approval. That will be the first motion I am looking for tonight. Oh, Chair Brewer, you are on, I see. Do you have some comments? We heard you were trying to dial in. You're on mute, possibly? Or you're on mute, we're not hearing you if you have anything to say. I heard something for a moment there. Is that thumbs up?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Hey, Well, what Don was getting at was, you know, an unforeseen, I guess, change in my district. And I do recall reading over minutes, your previous minutes of the redistricting committee. And I don't want to put words in his mouth, but Attorney Wendell was quoted as saying, the county board can change this if they want to. You know, it didn't indicate an up or down vote. It was the county board can change the recommendations if they want to. So I would want to hear from Mike on that issue.
Okay, I guess that's something that then we would have to bring up at county board at this point, which
Well,
is,
look at your previous minutes. I think it's there. But Mike isn't on right now, is he?
he is not.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Don?
just to follow up on Mr. Brewer's comment, I recall that in the last redistricting, 10 years ago, the county board did make changes in the preliminary plans for the redistricting. And that involved the district pertaining to Mr. He used to be the it turned out to be an extended district all the way up from Richland Center. I forget the gentleman's name, but county board did make an amendment and change the initial plan the last time, and I think the county board has the authority to do that. But I would agree that we should get an opinion from Mr. Wendell.
Eric, did you have a comment?
Yeah, and so that's what, I mean, when I say approve the final plan, yes or no, this committee is offering you a plan. County board can say they don't want to approve that, and this is what you want to approve. So, you know, Attorney Wendell and I talked about this the last time, and is like the tentative redistricting plan. If that one wasn't approved, then in the interest of getting this done, I think that would be something that we would want to entertain to approve and make the changes right at the county board meeting tomorrow, because we're under a time crunch. So I should clarify that statement. I didn't say amendments couldn't be made, but this committee is bringing you forward something. So should the county board want to deny it and then make amendments, then yes, that is possible. So my apologies if I didn't clarify that statement enough.
Thank you, because, you know, we're only talking about 4 different residents on D if the line is changed from D to double D.
Well, and I can comment that too. I mean, this is not some selfish motive on my part, because I do not want to run against an incumbent, a good board member, and it would be District 3, I think, by the basis of 100 feet. Now I'm in District 3, so I don't want to see the board diminished, and that's my goal. I'm trying to keep our board as intact as I can. Now, I don't know, of course, I can't predict what'll happen in April, but it would be a shame to have to run against an incumbent from another district, for me, that is.
That's what we're trying to pull up. Let me go into the program and we can see if we can.
Mr. Chair, do you mind if I just add one,
Please go ahead, Sean.
maybe 2 comments? So I was hearing Don talk about that 10 years ago, the board made a change to the tentative plan before it sounds like maybe before it was published to the public and there was a public hearing. This time the board approved the tentative plan without any changes. And I'm not trying to say whether or not it's possible to make amendments, because I have no idea tomorrow night to the plan. But I just wanted to try to clarify, you know, we did have a tentative plan. Now this is the final plan. And the tentative plan did go through the county board without changes. And then the other comment I just wanted this issue of not looking at the addresses of incumbents. I'm aware that last time, 10 years ago, that was looked at. And this time, so the Counties Association publishes a guidebook for how to do redistricting in counties. And one of the things they said that the redistricting committee should do is adopt redistricting guidelines. So I had researched a bunch of those and brought those to the committee. And one of the sets of guidelines from Dale Schultz and Tim Cullen that was in the Wisconsin State Journal, it had those 4 points that we ended up adopting. And one of them was not looking at the addresses of incumbents. So I just wanted to just make sure everyone was on the same page. Don and Marty, I'm not sure that you were here at earlier meetings, but that's kind of where it came from. And I don't know if that was a question. I haven't talked to either one of you about that, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew where it came from. So,
Mr. Chairman, could I respond to the Honorable Mr.
Yes, you may.
Lopez?
Go ahead.
I don't like, this is not something that I'm arguing about so much as I am concerned about the perfect being the enemy here of the good, of the common good. Now, I would think that common sense is a factor here, and remembering that those are guidelines; they're not statutory rules, and guidance is not mandatory. So I think we should appeal to our common sense as well here.
Okay, Lynn has a comment.
Wanted to clarify that the block that we're talking about isn't 4 people, it's 41 people.
So Lynn's comment was the block that that we're discussing is 41 people, not 4 people.
Well,
so
are you talking about D from Hustlers Ridge Road down to Double D, aren't you? That section. That's all.
Lynn's pulling that up on the screen right now.
From the intersection of Hustlers Ridge Road. No, I guess Double D comes right up to D. Does Double D intersect with D, or is it Hustlers? Yeah, it's Double D that intersects with D, and so from that intersection down to the intersection of D and Double D at the bottom, from the top to the bottom. And on the left side of the road, I believe there are only 4 residences.
I'm seeing the intersection of D and Double D. And the block, and we have to go by blocks. We can't just go by residences. We have to go by the census blocks.
Yes.
And the block that was changed is 41 population, not the 4. So I'm not sure where you're looking at with the 4 population in a block.
I'm looking at that intersection from Double D on the east end, the intersection of Double D and D to the east, and down to the intersection of D and Double D on the west end.
There's 0 people in that block that I see on either north or south of the intersection of Highway Double D and Hustlers Ridge. And east of that is 19, the population of 19. So I'm still not seeing 4.
Don, do you have a township and section that you can give us to identify where you're seeing those 4?
I don't have it with me, but I drive down that road all the time.
It doesn't go by residences. It goes by number of people and who responded to the census.
Right.
Don, are you online that you can see the map?
Yes, I'm online.
So where the map is showing right now, is that the area you're talking about?
The, are you marking that area?
Do you see my cursor here? Do you see that moving around?
Let me expand a little bit. I don't see your cursor moving.
Do you see Ward 2 and Ward 3, Rockbridge and Willow Townships?
Yes,
Okay, do you see the blue and the brown?
I see the blue and the yellow.
Okay, so, but you don't see my cursor.
No, I don't. Let me expand a little more. I'm sorry, I don't see your cursor. In any case,
So on the screen, Don, is that the area you're discussing that you're mentioning?
on the screen, I'm discussing the intersection from double D and D on the east end, down the valley to D and double D on the west end. And as you drive down that road, on the left side of that road, there are 2 residences that I know of.
Up on that ridge.
And again, we can't move residences. They're moved by blocks of
Well,
census data.
there can't be 41 people on the left side of the road going down from those 2 intersections. Marty?
People is on the right side of the road, going from east to west.
Going from, yeah, that'd be on the right side of the road going from east from west to east, and it'd be on the left side of the road going from east to west.
41 people in there, that's not there. For the
Where?
voters, the Yoder.
There's no way there's 41 people there.
Mhm.
Marty, am I correct that there's 2 residences there on the left? And
Don, there might be 41 people if you're looking at whatever is labeled Ward 3 there, the area between D and double D. We call it the loop, those of us.
oh, you mean on both sides
They're
of the
looking at
loop?
the entire section there, Don.
Okay, on both sides of the loop. That's
Both sides of the
true.
loop, right.
Yeah,
You're only
if you're looking at both sides of the loop, I think we should consider this from the vantage point of common sense, and furthermore, I think we should look at it as guidance and not a tablet in stone.
Oh,
But
okay. Thank
that's
you.
only my opinion, of course.
All right. Well, we thank you for your opinion. That can be discussed in county board. We can only move blocks around. We can't move individual residences. And I think that's where the challenge is coming in this.
So the amendment would call for moving blocks, huh?
Yes, and the blocks are going to be, in this case, 41, which is going to throw off numerous districts.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and the
Mr.
blocks are
Chair,
being
can
passed by the census.
I say something? Can I just respond to the
Okay.
common sense comment? I guess I'm sorry to hear this. I mean, I haven't looked at any lines to know where everyone's living myself either. Just like Derek and Lyndon look at anything. But I think the perception from the public could be that if we're drawing lines to try to retain incumbents, that it's that people are just trying to save their seats, and it could result in some really funny business kind of going on, you know. Maybe that's easier for me to say because I'm in the middle of Bloom Township and it wasn't, you know, what didn't come close to my seat, but I can understand how that would be awkward and uncomfortable, but I do think that some people could argue the opposite way. And I do think that the guideline is an important guideline in general, so that we know that politicians or elected officials aren't trying to just retain their seats when they're redrawing these lines. It's, you know, so just my response to it. I just want to
Dorothy,
throw that out there.
Dorothy, go ahead.
Well, my comment is that this is a decision that would be impacting us for 10 years, right?
Right.
Until the next. So, and we don't know for sure just because someone currently holds that seat that they intend to run or that they to run again. I don't know who it is, so I don't know who we're talking about, but we don't know for sure that they plan to run.
Thank you.
And that they would, in fact, you know, it would impact the district for 10 years. So beyond 1 2-year election cycle.
Correct.
I would say this, that the intent here is for not anyone to hoard or retain a seat by finagling. That isn't the intent here at all. The intent is entirely different than that, and I would suggest that we not retain that notion in our minds. I understand that there are some who would perceive it to be that way. All I'm saying is it just seems unfair to me, but that's up to the county board, I guess, now.
All right. Well, thank you. So at this point, then I have I'm asking for a approval from this committee to move the final plan onto the county board as it sits, and you'll then get a resolution facing that. So I'm looking for a motion and a second. Dorothy's given us the motion. Looking for a second. All right. Thank you very much. Alan and any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, no one opposed. Thank you. So that will then move the final plan on to the county board for their approval and discussion at that point. All right, thank you. The next thing I'm going to be looking for is a motion to move the resolution to the county board, the ordinance, and sorry about that. I move the ordinance to the county board. So I'll be looking for a motion and a second on that also at this time.
Make a motion to send the ordinance to the county board for approval.
All right. Thank you. And I have Chad seconding it. Any further discussion on the ordinance? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. That will be moved on also to the county board then as a separate agenda or a separate resolution item. Discussion for future agenda items. Anybody have any discussion for future agenda items? I guess that kind of depends. Go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, I just put this on here. It's kind of a standing item, and because we haven't adopted the final plan, I just thought I'd put it on here in the event, you know, something else came up that would warrant another meeting before county board, which would be impossible because we wouldn't meet the notice requirements anyway. But this should be the last meeting unless there's something that comes up.
Something that comes up. Okay. So the timeline for this, what is our next deadline that has to be met for the redistricting information?
So at this point, we have to move forward with the type A notice, which I just received the format from the Wisconsin Elections Commission today. So I will be posting that. It has to be statutorily posted by November 23rd. For us, it's a few days before, on November 18th, because of the publication frequency of our newspaper, which means I have to have it to them a week before that. So immediately after, or when the final plan is approved, then I will do my type A notice, which serves all municipalities in the county. So that's the next step for me. That is not anything the redistricting committee has to do. It's a county clerk duty, but I can't do that until we have a final redistricting plan approved.
Okay, so, any changes or anything that the county board might do could mean a special county board meeting if it would have to be in November to meet the criteria, to meet the deadlines that we have. Is that correct?
Right. So you'll recall the original schedule allowed us a little bit of leeway. And when I say a little bit of leeway, I mean not a lot here. We were able to, work through this at a decent pace, and the townships, all the municipalities were very nice to work with us. So the point in doing this early was to get this done, so there wasn't such a time crunch. But yes, any further delay of an approval would likely require a special board meeting in November.
Okay. Any other comments, Chad?
If there are changes made, we have to go through the entire process again with the public hearings,
That's what we
the
need.
whole thing all over again?
Attorney Wendell should best answer that, but my thought would be if there were amendments, I don't know if they can be made on the floor or not. But just recall, so approving these plans is not just saying, I want to move this block to this. It's turning that block a different color and looking to make sure all other supervisory districts are within that standard deviation. And as you've kind of seen with this, when you move stuff around, a lot can happen when you try to do one thing. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's not as simple as just turning a block one color in that. We would have to see how it fits the overall plan. So my guess would be Attorney Wendell would tell us what's possible, and my thought is that this would not be something that would be able to be hashed out on the boardroom floor. I don't know if that'd be the best practice to do that.
Alan, go ahead.
I have a question. Do the amendments have to comply with the standard deviation
Yes.
requirements?
Yes.
The entire plan has to be within that deviation range, correct?
Right.
Okay, so we're on item 6, items for future, ideas for future agenda items. None at this point, but we will see what this committee may have to reorganize with. All right, moving on to item 7, adjournment. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, before you adjourn, I would like to thank you all for having the patience to hear my concerns.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate your concerns.
And make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Sue. Looking for a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, and thank you all.